Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Ondas. It is time for another update, and this was a stock analysis request from one of the members, and I wanted to let you know that anyone can make these requests and I try to cover as many as possible. Although with the current demand that is not a realistic expectation to have, and I do need to prioritize stocks that are in high demand and member requests when there is a video slot open. Now, on this chart, we have been tracking a couple of ideas for this uptrend that has been forming throughout the years, the last few years. And within it, we have the yellow interpretation for a potential leading diagonal to form within this structure, where we would start with an ABC pattern, we would be tracking a wave 2 correction, and then we would be looking for an ABC pattern to unfold within this wave 3. Now, here's the thing. Within this wave 3 extension, within what we have so far formed within this wave 3, we could potentially be looking for it to be complete in a wave A up, a wave B down, and a very extended wave C to the upside. I have to say, it's not really the most likely structure, the most likely interpretation in my opinion, but we did reach here the ideal target for the wave 3 with our latest push to the upside. We came like 0.01 cent short of it. Yeah, we have here a peak at the $15.28. The wave 3 target is at the $15.29. Not really a difference. We can track and consider that, okay, it didn't reach the ideal target. This structure has failed. And really, this is not the problem, but rather the pattern itself. It is very, very difficult to actually consider this to be even like this. An ABC structure could work out. Does it need to? Absolutely not. And then I would be looking from the large time frame perspective and comparing with what happened in this initial wave 1, where we had a much more clearly defined separation between the wave A and the wave C. Yeah, we had here a much more significant wave B, and I would normally be looking for a more significant connector wave B even within this larger wave 3 to the upside. Now, of course, the positive aspect about this is that the area of support we would be tracking for a wave 4 correction in yellow would be identical, or rather near identical, with what we would be tracking for a wave 4 correction here in this white interpretation. And that actually brings me to the white structure, where we have been tracking instead an ABC pattern to unfold within this area. In the end, in both structures, we could be looking for an additional high, although I do have to warn you, it is very much possible that a more substantial top is already in place within this wave C even though we have been tracking this idea of a third wave forming to the upside within this area. Nothing is really stopping me from tracking it as a potential 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 that would have already topped. So this chart has certainly built its likely structure, its likely expectation, the pattern that was likely to form within any larger count, any larger structure we would have been tracking. Yeah? Even if I wanted to track here a WXY pattern within a wave Y in this area, I could have been looking for this to be an ABC pattern, as I am within a wave 3 here in yellow. Yeah, it's not really a problem. So while within this interpretation in white and even more bullish structures, such as the yellow interpretation, we would like to see additional extensions to even higher prices. It is certainly not a requirement. I can certainly look at this wave C to have already formed the top, and I will be tracking this, in fact, in a different color, in orange, and consider that we have formed a significant top within this area and that we wouldn't be looking for any additional extensions higher. The risk on this chart just shot up, and it might be a lot wiser at this point to consider taking some profits and to consider having more of a sideline view at the moment until we identify a more reliable pattern that would allow us to track continuation to higher prices. Now, the thing is, we can always extend and we will track such an expectation, but I wanted to briefly go through the previous expectations we had for this structure. So here we were tracking within the wave C, a 5-wave move to the upside within an ending diagonal. That has now been built. We have been tracking in the previous videos a potential ABC structure within this area, it seems this wave C did not complete here a 5-wave pattern, and it might be rather that this was instead the wave B bottom and that this is the wave C top, in which case the count would be apparently full. In the previous video, in fact, we even provided an area of support for continuation to higher prices, although we highlighted strongly that this would be a 5th wave of a wave C, of a 5th wave of an even large wave C. This was always going to contain substantial risk, and there was a very good chance we wouldn't have built this wave to the upside. And we didn't. We actually broke the area of support, and not long after we have extended even lower. Yeah, we did a follow-up after the initial tiny break within this area, and this is really telling me that this pattern to the upside can now be considered complete. I really do not need any additional extensions for this to be a reliable 5th wave that we would track within this overall structure. Now, does this mean we cannot look for extensions to higher prices? Once again, of course not. Extensions are always possible, and I will provide you the idea for an internal extension within this area as well as the larger area of support in a moment. But I wanted to briefly mention our channel newsletter. You can find the link for sign up in the description, and you will get access to our monthly top picks, where we identify for you the high value opportunities from the market, and we provide them in a concise list. You can follow them along with us on the channel afterwards, and we will of course be providing videos on these ideas, on these assets that we consider so interesting. And it is completely free. However, if you enjoy the content and you would like to support us, you can check out our channel membership. The link is in the description as well, or you can click the join button and you get access to additional content while supporting us in a frictionless way. Yeah, it's built in. You do not need to go and download another app, and I really appreciate those of you who have already joined. Now, back to the chart. Here, in a direct fashion, we can look for this to have instead been a wave A top, to have here a wave B correction, and a wave C that would extend still to higher prices within the 5th wave within this area. Now, this is not going to be a high probability structure. We have already fulfilled the expectations for the 5th wave within this area. This is always going to be an even higher risk structure, an even higher risk idea to track. But at the same time, this will provide us a signal when the last level of support, the 78.6% retracement at the $6.3 level, gets broken. So we have already entered our area of support for this wave B retracement. However, I would not consider this in any manner a trade setup, but these would be the levels that would need to be broken for a signal that this wave 5 has indeed formed a top. Now, this would allow this third wave to extend potentially, but we would still be able to look for continuation to higher prices even if we have formed a more substantial top within this wave 3, because once again we would have here a wave 4 retracement potentially in white or in yellow, and for this we would be looking at the levels of support between the 23.6% retracement all the way down to the 61.8% retracement. So we see here some overlap with our internal area of support for direct continuation to higher prices, and I will actually track this extension within a different color because in white I would like to assume a more substantial top would already be in place. And here for this white interpretation for an extension to higher prices in a 5th wave, we can track this entire area of support down to the $2.2 level. If we were to consider an area of support for a wave 4 correction in yellow, once again, very similar structure, very similar area of support, we would be watching the 61.8% retracement down to the $2 level. Now, here's the thing. This is going to be a very difficult chart to find a reliable long position from in this larger time frame perspective. There is an extremely good chance that this orange structure would win, even if it doesn't form a more substantial top, in a sense that would send us to even new all-time lows. But even if this is just a larger 1-2 setup or a larger wave A, this would be able to imply extremely deep retracements. We might be even deleting the entire profits made along this entire push to the upside from the March 2025 low. there will be many structures, many opportunities that would allow extensions to higher prices, but none of them will provide reliable patterns, none of them would include high probability structures, and none of them would provide decent risk-reward ratios factoring in the probabilities. Because sure, you might be looking at an A, B, C structure to form within this area in the yellow interpretation in an extension of this wave tree, and you would be able to look for quite deep levels of support, and you might be even buying here at the 78.6% retracement at the $1.2 level, yeah? This is a valid structure to follow, a valid area of support for an extension in this wave tree in a larger A, B, C pattern. But this is a full count within a corrective pattern to the upside. At best, you are tracking a leading diagonal in a larger structure, but you might be accumulating within an area of support for a complete count, a complete structure to the upside that could even go to new all-time lows. So my recommendation is to be patient. I would not be looking for positions in this white area of support or in this yellow area of support, even for an extension in this wave tree. I would be waiting for a much more reliable structure to occur within a smaller time frame. I would be waiting for the initial 5-wave move to the upside that would allow me to clearly identify that this is going to be a high probability structure, a high probability area of support that I can track, that I know if this fails, I will not be looking for continuation to higher prices. I will not be looking for another scenario that is close in probabilities for continuation to higher prices, because there is none. If you are looking for a position in this yellow structure as an accumulation area, it would not have much better probabilities than having this as an A, B, C structure in orange complete and looking for a larger 1-2 setup. What would then compel you to take the loss when it invalidates this yellow area of support or even this white area of support? Not much, because you would still be thinking, well, it was kind of in between these structures that I had to choose. None of them was going to provide a particularly better opportunity than the other, but I just chose this one and I already accumulated, and you get to doubling down as you go into even deeper levels of support. So it is your choice what to do with this information. I believe this is an extremely risky chart at the moment, and I believe it to be the most wise to sit on the sidelines until we identify a more reliable pattern and a more reliable structure. Now, I won't even be leaving this yellow area of support on the chart, and it's not because it's less reliable than this white area of support, but it's just too much clutter and we are still even very far away from it. Now, in this pattern to the downside, I'm identifying a highly corrective structure that seems to be information. I could be looking for an extension to the downside in an A, B, C structure in this area, but I wouldn't think too much of it. To be honest, I could even count it in a way that this correction in wave B would already be complete. I wouldn't necessarily need additional extensions lower, but a nice signal for this bottom to already be in place would be here by breaking the 61.8% retracement for a potential ending diagonal in a wave C within this structure. So here we are watching the $11 level. If we manage to break that, it would be a good sign that a more substantial bottom would already be in place. So far we have pushed into the 50% retracement and we seem to be extending lower still. Even to the downside, even to the upside within the smaller time frame, I can only identify 3-wave patterns. So I would be patient at the moment to see if we can identify an initial 5-wave move to the downside within this area. If that happens, I would probably prefer a correction and then another low, but nothing too substantial. The momentum does seem to gain a bit, yeah, even though we had a sharper and stronger push to the downside within this area, the correction to the upside has also been stronger at the same time. So even here, we get the indication that we should probably be patient, because if I am to go into these structures, I am identifying extremely complex corrective patterns, and that is why I won't even go into it. It's really nothing of value that we can identify within this structure. But for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.